Is that better? Yay. My name is Felicia Bell, and I am a local real estate professional. For those of you I don't know, I tap into a little bit of everything. I am a associate broker with 3CRE Residential. I also rehab properties. I'm an Airbnb host and do short-term rentals. I do creative financing deals. What else do I do? Stuff. Just I. Oh, thank you. And so I just love real estate, and so where there's an opportunity to learn, to help others, I try to take that as much as I can. And I am joined up here with three outstanding professionals that I can truly say that are not just people I know in the real estate business, but they're my friends. And so when you have friends like this, you just have to keep your game sharp, right? Because these are my accountability partners that I have the pleasure of introducing to you today. Mr. Chris Knowles is a founding attorney of Knowles Davis. Knowles Davis. Attorney. Chris has a multifaceted practice that focuses on commercial real estate, business law, and estate planning. Chris represents developers, real estate investors, lenders, business owners, and public entities in transactional and regulatory matters. He has provided counsel on transactions valued at more than $500 million in Ohio and across the United States. His representative matters his representative matters include real estate projects, infrastructure development, business acquisitions, secured financings, asset transfers, zoning, permitting, corporate governance issues, and again, estate planning. In the past, he was an attorney at large corporate law firms in Ohio and in Washington, D.C. He was selected by the Dayton Business Journal for its 40 Under 40 class of 2022 and the National Black Lawyers 40 Under 40 in D.C. class of 2016. He is a current member of ULI, and you've seen them plenty around here over the past 2 days, Real Estate Accelerator Lab. How many people do we have here from Real? Any Real besides myself? Okay, Chris, we're rolling solo today, but that's okay. Uh, and he's a 2019 graduate of the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce Leadership Dayton program. He also sits on the advisory board of the Miami Valley Urban League and the board of directors for Parity Inc. Chris received his JD from Georgetown University Law Center and his undergrad from the University of Dayton. He resides in Dayton, Ohio, with his wife Victoria and daughter Victoria II. Let's give it up for Chris. Thank you so much, Chris, for being here. Next, we have Miss Devette Shorter Harris. And Devette has been in property development since 2008. After graduating from Wharton and obtaining an MBA from NYU in finance, she has spent her 25-year career in brand management for Fortune 100 companies and startup companies. She's worked her way up to vice president of marketing at L'Oreal, right? Was it L'Oreal? So, very extensive background. I love that. One day in 2006, her aunt, Estella, asked her to review her finances and help her organize them. She thought that it would be a quick job since her aunt had been a teacher all her life. When she saw lots of zeros, she asked her aunt, "Is this a mistake?" Her aunt said, "No, I just kept all the houses I've ever lived in and I rented them out." That was her inspiration that propelled her into property development and property management as she has launched her company, Peaceful Dwelling Developments. While continuing her work in corporate America, she bought her first property in Evanston, From there, she bought more in Evanston, Madisonville, Walnut Hills, and in Northbrook. All of her homes happened to be rented to hardworking single mothers and single fathers. Her next foray is into affordable seller financed homes, great for first time buyers in the West End, Milford, and Walnut Hills. She also is the dopest wife, mother to six adult children, Gigi to one powerful prince, and doing everything it takes to live to be 120 years old. Let's give Devette a hand. I like the dopest wife part. That was pretty cool. Next, we have, and you've heard from Miss Tiffany Ray Smith. Tiffany is a Cincinnati native with 28 years of real estate investing and currently owns single families, multifamilies, commercial, and licensed shared housing facilities. She is currently the president of the Real Estate Investors Association of Greater Cincinnati and 2021 National OBRIA speaker. 30 plus years of mortgage default servicing, working for the top banks and servicers in the city. US Bank, Fifth Third. I'm going off memory right now. This isn't on the paper. And default servicing for top tier banks and servicers. She has had the oversight of over 294 employees, 5 sites, and 25,000 bankruptcies. She is the co-owner of Rapid Results Cryo Wellness Studio, which y'all ask her after this how that fit into all this real estate stuff. But co-owner of the Healing Touch Center of Cincinnati, licensed class 2, group home and shared housing. Y'all, let's give it up for Tiffany. And we're going to give it up one more time for the entire panel. As you can see, I have an all-star cast of real estate professionals here, and I can't count the number of years of experience sitting in front of us. But today, what we want to talk about is leveraging your retirement accounts in order to do real estate investing. And both Tiffany and Devette and myself currently are using our retirement accounts in order to invest in real estate. And one of the things when I came into real estate 8.5 years ago, I learned about the fact that this was an opportunity. I had no idea at that time that I could use my retirement account in order to invest in real estate. Now, most of us, if you're working for a company and the company, you as well as the company, does some type of match into your 401k, you're like, okay, I can't touch that, right? I can't touch that until I am of retirement age. Well, again, upon me leaving Procter and Gamble, after being there for 18 years, every financial management company in the city was buzzing my phone. Every financial management company, and I do mean every. And of course, I talk to them because they know people coming out of retirement or in my case, coming out of Procter and Gamble, usually leave with a decent chunk of change coming out of their retirement accounts. And so they want to get the opportunity to manage that money, right? And so, coincidentally, or I would like to say divinely, for me, I at the same time was making the decision or had made the decision to come into real estate and had learned about this option of a self-directed IRA or a self-directed 401k. And that is what I want to share with you all today, that learning that I had, and then These two ladies specifically will talk to you about their experience with investing using their self-directed IRAs and or 401k. What I do want to put up a disclaimer, and this is a very important disclaimer before we get started. The purpose of this session is to introduce you to a tool that you can use to invest in real estate projects. It is imperative that you do your own research. The panelists are here to talk to you about their personal experiences and how they are personally using these tools. As you pursue your passion of real estate development and investing, educating yourself properly is critical. Do not rely on mentors. Do not rely on the homeboy network in order to get your information. Get formal training that will position you to leverage the various tools in real estate, particularly the self-directed IRAs and or 401ks. Okay, so I want to put that out there because this is an introduction to the concept. So don't leave here and go to YouTube University and try to start using your self-directed IRA or your or a self-directed 401k. So with that, I want to start with you, Mr. Knowles. Can you tell us what is a solo 401k and a self-directed IRA?
Sure. I will start with, in addition to your disclaimer before I go into that. What I say is not to be construed as legal advice, purely informational purposes. To the extent that more information is needed, you should seek out a professional. It's not working.
Turn it on.
Yeah, so to the extent that you want more information about what anything that I say or what's being discussed generally,
Sorry.
you should seek professional counsel of some sort. Specifically, because of what we're going to discuss today is complex, and there are many pitfalls that can cost you a great deal of money and heartache. This is not a DIY type of topic. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start with, first I'll start with the solo 401k. Solo 401k is a qualified plan. Many of you are probably familiar with the traditional 401k, where you have a retirement plan, you make direct contributions, and maybe you have an employer that matches. Solo 401k is specifically for a business owner, and more specifically for a business owner that does not have any employees other than the owner and the owner's spouse. And I should qualify that. Does not have any full-time employees. You can have part-time employees with a solo 401k. There are advantages to a solo 401k. There are some exemptions that do not relate or that are not applicable to a self-directed IRA. I'll talk a little bit about that, but I suspect that that's something we're going to get into a little deeper throughout the panel. A self-directed IRA is a retirement plan, and it's a retirement plan where the owner of the plan manages the investments. It does have a central administrator, just like you have with the 401k. With the self-directed IRA, that's going to be called a custodian, and the custodian will handle the administrative piece and the regulatory compliance if you have a good custodian. That's crucially important with a self-directed IRA. And then you, as the owner of the plan, will be responsible for choosing your own investments. The advantage to either using a solo 401k or a self-directed IRA is that you're able to invest in alternative investments that a traditional plan wouldn't otherwise allow you to invest in. Most crucially for this conversation would be real estate. And the advantage of that, obviously, is that you're able to accrue value in your self-directed IRA or your solo 401k at a rate that if you're doing well in your real estate investment business, it's much greater, will significantly outpace the market in terms of the index that you would get if you were investing through a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k where someone else is managing your investments.
So I'm going to take that and put it in layman's terms a little bit because Georgetown University education. I gotta bring it, reel it in a little bit. Uh, so if you, so first of all, understand that if you are currently working for an employer, that you are contributing to a 401k, that you are not eligible for self-directed right off the bat. Okay, so the reason I was able to use my funds is because I had left Procter and Gamble. All right, so many of you maybe have changed jobs. Then you can move that money into a self-directed account from the previous employer. So does that make sense? Okay, and then the difference between a self-directed IRA versus a 401k. Y'all good? Y'all with me? Okay, with Chris, because he's the one that gave you the extra.
I was just gonna question about the move from one job to the next job. And within that transition from one job to the next job, you have the opportunity to move your 401k elsewhere instead of to the next job, I guess. You can move it at that time and use it self-directed.
Yep, we good? All right, good deal. Um, Tiffany, can you tell us how you learned about self-directed accounts?
Sure. So, I did that to y'all. Okay. Right. Special. We are special today. It's very special. Um, yes. So I actually learned about it through reading, just perusing, and it was, oh, what's this thing? And then I went to my local RIA, and there are actually classes about how to build generational wealth through self-directed IRA. So I would say it was self-exploration that learned it, and then I went to Chris's point and sought additional professional information, and then we actually have had classes from Equity Trust, who has come in multiple times and explained to us how we make money in various ways through our self-directed IRA.
Awesome. Devette?
There we go. It's on. It's on. So, as Felicia talked about, I had been in corporate America for 20, 25 years. And once I decided to do my own business, I began just kind of talking with business owners. And it so happens that my friend Greg, who owns JC Salons in Rookwood, I was asking him because it's really a salon loft where he's renting out that space. And so for me, that was real estate. And so I was kind of asking him, hey, how did you get this business? He happened to also be a person who had worked in corporate America for 20, 25 years. And he had invested in his own self-directed IRA. And I'd heard this term, but I understood it to be very complicated, so I was going to stay away as far as away as possible. But he walked me through the entire thing. He told me the company that he worked with, and I immediately went and called that company.
Awesome. So, a couple of things that we should pull from what we've heard, and that is, it was in undertone there. So I'm just bringing it out. There are specific companies that are custodians that have the certifications or licensing, whatever, to be custodians for these type of accounts. So you can't just pick up if you are with, what is it, Northwestern Mutual or Trivent or any of those companies that do financial management. They're not going to necessarily have a whole lot of information about self-directed accounts. And quite frankly, personal experience here, they're not going to encourage you to use them. So if you want advice about self-directed accounts, you're going to have to come to someone who's familiar with them and then use and get classes in order to find that out. It can be a part of your portfolio, it could be your whole portfolio, but your current financial management company is not going to encourage you. Why? Because they make no money from you investing in a self-directed account. Okay? So, we'll put that out there.
So if you have it outside of your employer with, say, a company like you named, you can move that.
Devette, you want to answer that?
So the specific company I use is Benetrends Financial. And so there is a process. I don't know if our moderator wants me to walk through that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. So part of the process and why I trust them is that they're very meticulous. So you don't just move the money and then start. They have a specific step one, step two, step three, and they're walking you through each process. So just to turn some of the steps, the first thing is you have to establish a C Corp. And they're very specific that it cannot be an LLC, it can't be an S Corp, and there are tax and specific information around why that isn't. That is, and I'm going to encourage you to talk to the custodian instead of me, because I might not give you all the thing. Then you have to have a specific business account associated with this specific business that you're doing. The funds will then pass through a company. I use Fidelity. They specifically use Fidelity to set up an IRA. And then that IRA begins to invest. You pull that money into your own IRA, and then that IRA is investing in your business. Now, Greg, the friend that I mentioned to you, he was buying a franchise, which is completely different than I think most of us are doing. But they do that, and they call it a ROBS account, and they do all of that. So if you're doing a franchise, you're doing another business, this company can also work with that. Then at that point, you begin to invest your money into whatever you want to invest. For me specifically, I'm buying single-family housing. Right now, I'm buying manufactured housing, and I'm then holding that housing. I usually hold mine for 5 years, no problem with this company. And every year, we do a specific compliance level of steps. Now, I will tell you, it costs me $145 per month, and so you just kind of have to use that as part of your expenses, that you are paying them to be your custodian and to make sure that you are compliant with everything. And for me, it's absolutely worth it. So.
Tiff, you want to answer? Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay.
So I do need to comment, and because we're specifically talking about companies here, and I'm not gonna, I made the mistake of name dropping, but we're not endorsing anyone because you do need to do your homework. However, your information was very specific to your business, and that it was a S corp or C corp. You said. However, you can do a self-directed IRA in an LLC. So do not be discouraged that, oh my God, that is not my business formation, and I cannot do it. You can do it in an LLC, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to talk about how you use some other self-directed type stuff to wrap around stuff, like as far as like for children working for you and stuff.
Yes,
Okay,
we
I was
will.
hoping that we would get to that.
Yeah. I'm kind of taking questions along the way just because this is a complex topic. I'm gonna go here and then come back there.
Just for clarity, so, you kind of touched on it, so 28-year retired with P&G, everything's.
She got 20 some years. I only had 18. She got older than that. Oh, you. Oh, okay. I was about to say.
P&G, everything's in Northwestern, but it was interesting what you were saying, so, you definitely will not, if I heard you correctly, I would have to go somewhere else to be the self-directed, because they won't do it there?
Okay, so my personal experience was with Northwestern, and so I know they are not a custodian unless something has changed over the past 8 years. And I also know that they will not advise you to do that.
So can I comment
so,
on that for a
yeah,
second?
yeah.
So I think that we're talking nomenclature here, right? Because self-directed IRA means different things in the environment when you're talking about a fidelity and something like that. You're going to hear that, yes, we have a self-directed IRA, meaning you can choose from these 10 funds and direct it yourself. That is self-directed. What we're specifically talking about is you owning your own funds with a custodian and deciding, I want real estate, I want gold, I want paintings, and those are not an opportunity that the regular Fidelities or whomever we're gonna say have. So they have a pseudo self-directed IRA. We're talking about a true self-directed IRA where you direct the wind in your sails in what you want to invest. So I think that's important to
Yes,
to
no,
call out.
thank you, thank you. That's why I had him up here. You know what I'm saying? Um, so does that answer your question? Here, does that answer? In the back?
Okay, I have a unique situation. I own two companies, one is C Corp, and that business is over 35 years old. Now, we have not had the opportunity to pay into our own retirement, Robin Hall to a peer. But I have heard that some financial manager or someone that's an expert in the field can take the sweat equity out of my 35-year-old business and build me a 401k. I guess I would be looking at solo, this is my husband and partner, or a self-directed IRA. I need some recommendations or comments about that. And then my new company is a real estate investment company. And that is part of my retirement plan. I'm trying to retire out of or either have someone else take over the cleaning company. So has anyone heard about being able to take sweat equity out of a company and put it into a 401k?
I, I, Chris, you want to tackle that one? I have a response, but I want you to.
So when you say take sweat equity out, can you be more specific about what you mean on that?
That's the term that they used, and it was a financial manager. They took a look at my company and said, wow, you've been in business for a long time, you've got great assets and this and that, and I can show you how to take the equity in your business, and they call it sweat equity, in your business and turn it into a 401k.
Is the financial advisor really just saying make maximum contributions based on the revenue you're generating? Because that's what I think is going on.
Now, I don't know, because I don't know if that is equity. So,
With the solo 401k, the contribution level is very high. I mean, you can pack a lot into your contribution. You get the tax advantages of doing that. But I don't know what he means by take sweat equity. I consider sweat equity to be a non-monetary intangible. You can't put it into anything. So I'm not sure what's meant by that.
Unless you're getting ready to sell the company and then the value of that company has gone up based on your book of business and that sweat equity.
And even that would have an accounting line item called goodwill.
Yeah.
It wouldn't just be sweat equity. So I'm not sure exactly what's meant there.
that's I kind of met him in an environment where, like, something like this, and I didn't really get a chance to do a one-on-one, what do you mean by that, and I didn't really look into it at that time. That was several years ago. So
Okay.
here I am now, really at the door of the retirement age, or past several, but,
Have you worked with him in the past?
no.
So I'm gonna be careful. That may just be a sales pitch. I have never heard of that term. I don't know.
No, we haven't either. Goodwill is the only thing I know.
Unfortunately, the inroad tax agent and CPA and accountant that I was working with for over 30 years passed a couple of years ago. And that's why I was went back to for direction and financial management. But I haven't found anybody else yet.
Sure.
I have a follow-up question. What's the most you can put into the account annually in a self-directed account
self-directed IRA. No, that's going to exceed the limit. I think what is the limit now? Is it 8,000? It's 8,000.
If you have, yeah, that would be considered a startup or a rollover.
Yeah, you used to do it annually though. You're not going to be you can do one rollover and then annually you can make your direct contribution. It's 8,000 this year. It goes up slightly every year to match with inflation.
So for me, I put 75,000 in the first time, and I was able to do another infusion of cash to buy more real estate this year. So what happened is they had to do a business evaluation of my self-directed IRA, and I had to go through another company for that. That was another $1,000. But my custodian facilitated that whole transaction, oversaw that whole transaction, made sure they were reputable, and so for 90 days I can put in as much as I need to.
And what about the profits from your business that you use the money? It goes back into your account, or how does that work? And then also with tax purposes, how does
Are you talking? Are you talking about the money you make inside of your IRA? Is that what you?
That's what I heard.
What is the? Clarify your question. You said the money you make from your company. Are you?
So you use your IRA, your self-directed IRA, to do your real estate venture. Then your real estate venture makes, say, 20 grand annually. Where does that money go? Does the profit go back?
It goes to your IRA.
Right,
That's the sole purpose for it.
then how is that money taxed?
Well, and so I'm not a tax expert, but this has been my experience, right? Good word, good experience with it. You have to, in real estate, you have to concern yourself with a few things, depending upon how you invest, and that's UBIT tax, and I don't want to get into that yet. Just I don't know if we have time for that, but say I make an investment and I'm holding that asset and I get monthly rents. Those monthly, all expenses come from the account, all monies are returned from the account. The delta on here's my original investment and here's my 20% gain, that is not taxed inside of your IRA unless there's a usage tax on it, which you try to avoid. So I don't invest in anything that's gonna cause me a UBIT. But there are ways around that as well. So I hope I answered your question.
And I think importantly, you will have your own CPA. You have to have that. And then you're just providing them all this information, and then they do your taxes. So that's how I do mine. And then of course, they're writing off depreciation and they're doing things. And if I sell, then we're having to deal with capital gains, and they're dealing with it and helping to tell me ahead of time. What I tend to do every year though is I talk to my CPA before I make any moves, so that you can just kind of plan it out.
So, a couple of points I want to pull out of there. One is when you are leveraging your IRA, self-directed IRA, or self-directed 401k in order to buy real estate. We're talking about real estate. One, you can use it to buy other investments. So with your traditional IRAs and 401ks, there's somebody else making those investments into stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, right? With the self-directed accounts, you are making the choice of what you want to invest in, and real estate is one of the options. You can invest, and here's, for those of you who were here yesterday, heard me say about leveraging each other. If you have a self-directed account, you can invest in somebody else's project. You can invest in somebody else's company, private company, somebody else real estate development project. So I heard this gentleman of 28 years at Procter & Gamble, if you wanted to be an investor to any of these projects going on that you're hearing about this weekend, you are a prime candidate for somebody to come talk to, and you determine what you want your return on investment to be, and they have to adhere to that. So I personally have people who I reach out to who use their self-directed accounts to invest in my projects. Some of them want short-term returns, others want a long-term play. So I've got people who fund for 30 years, and then there are people who want their money back in 5. So, but again, if you've got the ability to invest, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to invest starting at $75,000. If you've got $3,000 or $4,000 that you want to put into an IRA, or a self-directed account, you can do that. And thank you for the cue back there. I do have a list of companies, 25 companies. There are far more. You've heard some of them on the panel of companies who are custodians. I'm giving you this list, so feel free to pass those out
You
for me,
need to
please.
expound on that just a little bit before you move forward. So Felicia brought out a really good point. We would be remiss not to talk about it. So what you're hearing up here is seasoned investors and people that left corporate America with a decent amount of money to invest. However, guys, look at here. You can take your $1, $2, $3, $4, $5,000 and start your self-directed IRA. I can pair my IRA with you, and we all come together and invest in Felicia's actual project. It doesn't mean that you need 10 grand to play. It doesn't mean that you need, so don't hear that dollar amount and let it discourage you from being a participant in this. The beauty of a self-directed IRA, and I don't want to steal your thunder, I'm sorry, and I don't know if we're queuing, but people, we got to get this part out. The beauty of the self-directed IRA, it is just not for you. So I have this question. Please allow me 1 minute. I have this question that I ask everybody, and you may have heard it yesterday from one of the speakers. I ask everybody in the room, and people that have been with me, and different panelists have heard it before. I ask you, do you know your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother's name, grandfather's name? So this is one of the ways outside of real estate of building generational wealth. And I say that for a point because my granddaughter works for me. I have pictures of her pushing carts from Home Depot. You look at my page, you'll see her. I got the grand today, and she's working. And you pay her something, but it goes to her IRA. Mm-hmm. So I take my IRA and I put it with her IRA to fund a deal for Felicia. And she's 9, but she's making money. Like right now, there's no 9 to 5 for her, but it's the opportunity that I make for her inside of my business. So guys, do not miss this, that it's a low barrier to entry. You don't need a lot of money, and it can influence your family. There are actually family IRAs. I see my cousin Nahamani.org back there. She will tell you we have family working together. You have a family plan that can do the same thing. Don't lose the power of working on a self-directed IRA with your family, your children or your grandchildren.
Yes, no.
I had to get
Don't
that.
be
I'm
sorry. That's good. That's good stuff. You see, I choose my friends wisely. I just want y'all to know. Devette,
Yes.
were you going to add something to that? Okay.
I was just clapping.
Did we pass out the list?
We did.
Okay, this list is not an endorsement of companies. Let me repeat that. It is not an endorsement of companies. It is a place for you to start learning and doing your own research. What I learned from the list, and I'll come to you here in a second, what I learned from going through the list is that each company offers something unique about them. Some companies will allow you to invest in cryptocurrency, some won't. All of them, I think, most of them will allow you to invest in real estate, but so depending on what your needs are is, kind of how you want to start choosing the company. Now, this list had recommendations. I took them out because I didn't want the information to show up like an endorsement from me or anybody in the room. So it's just a list to start the research. Tiffany touched on something else that I want to mention. There are other ways that you can invest and pair money in order to do some of the same stuff besides the self-directed accounts. There is what we call, and we won't get into this, again, I'm just introducing you to the concept to go ahead and do your own research. But there's a HSA, a healthcare savings account. You can start an account, an HSA, to pay your healthcare bills that can invest in real estate. Do your research. There are, help me out, throw them out there in case I forget any of them. But there's also the concept of a family bank. She touched on that as well. There's also the concept of ULI. Any insurance providers in the room? ULI is another investing tool that you can use to build generational wealth. That is, my undercurrent is helping people build generational wealth. These are tools. When I talk about, for those of you that were here yesterday and you heard me say collaboration, these are tools that you can use to collaborate. Everybody wants to be a rehabber. Am I right or wrong? Everybody want to be a rehabber because they think, or rent houses because they think that's the only way to get in the game. It's not. You can invest in real estate projects for those of us who are out here full time. If you've got a W-2, you're an asset to somebody who's in this business.
Okay, so I just need to clarify because I worked at a company before I ever started teaching, and they notified me like, hey, you got this money, you were vested, blah, blah, blah. I put it in Northwest Mutual. Well, it's because I knew someone there. He left, so I took it, put it in Ameritrade. Well, another one, I ain't gonna talk about it. But anyway, I put it in Ameritrade. They were bought by Schwab. I took a class in stock. So I had fun, like, picking my own stock, and I've been growing my account. And I have been looking for a REIT stock to invest in. So I just want to clarify what you're saying is, instead of me finding a REIT stock, I can invest in one of you guys. Because that's what someone told me when I was like, hey, I think I want to get into real estate. I want to rehab. And they were like, why are you going to do that? Just get some stock, So, but I couldn't find the stock that I really liked. So now I know I can invest in.
The REIT is highly regulated. Because it's so highly regulated, that's going to keep your returns down to market
I
index.
couldn't,
You can't, if you think you can do better, I think in finance we call that achieving alpha. If you can get alpha on your own, then you're going to do better than if you go and invest in a REIT. A REIT is like investing in the stock market or a mutual
Right,
fund.
right. And that's what it was through the stock that I was looking at the REIT. So I'm gonna call timeout on that. So we might have some newbies in here. So they're talking acronyms. So
I was
REIT.
gonna go there. Please
Okay,
go there.
okay.
No. Go there. Go there.
You go because you wrote it down.
No, go.
Chris, I was just gonna say, I'm calling time.
Oh, okay. Give it to Chris. Yes, give it the acronym, Chris.
A REIT is a real estate investment trust. A REIT is run by a central trustee who makes all of the investment decisions. You, as an investor, are investing in a passive vehicle when it's time for them to either issue dividends or when you sell your shares in the trust, then you get income based on what growth they generate. But their growth is going to be constrained just like a stockbroker's growth is going to be constrained because they have to mitigate risk in order to comply with regulations. I think what's being said here is these projects are going to be riskier if you're going to be either a passive investor or especially if you're doing your own real estate project, but the higher the risk, typically the higher the reward. And so that's something to keep in mind. I wouldn't recommend someone who's never done a project to just jump out and say, I'm going to start investing in real estate through a self-directed IRA unless you've done a great deal of due diligence.
Tiff,
No, I was gonna say your question.
any questions? Oh, back
You
here.
had two
I'm
questions.
sorry.
Got one question, and it may not even be on topic. What about annuities? How does that play?
Chris, you want to touch that one?
So, an annuity is also a highly regulated product. that's readily available from the market. And I'm not discouraging an investment in an annuity. I think it's kind of similar to a ULI. I think with a ULI, you tend to get better rates of return. Um, so I'm not endorsing any one product over another, but an annuity is a safe, highly regulated product.
So I'm going to say this, and I know this lady has a question, but this is what I would say to people. Most of you guys are local Cincinnati people, right? So you are familiar with Kings Island. And so they have a Scooby-Doo roller coaster, and they have a Beast roller coaster. And so I'm a banker by trade, so my risk tolerance is relatively low because that's what all the check marks, compliance, and what have you. Although real estate is much more riskier than that, so I think I'm fooling myself. Nonetheless, you have to decide whether you want to ride the Scooby-Doo or if you want to ride the Beast. No, hey, right. If you didn't take your Tylenol, you ain't strapped in for the Beast, then don't get yourself on it. So you can invest in an annuity, to Chris's point, safe, regulated. Nothing wrong to this lady. Nothing wrong with stocks, especially those that pay dividend. It's what I grew up on. I know I love dividend checks. Hey, I'm just saying we should be able to live off of that. But when you start investing in some other things that are a little uncomfortable, the reward can be great. 12%, 15%, 18%, and you're not making that in the market. But that's riding the beast. So then you have to do your own due diligence to know. So maybe that simulation might help you to decide where you're going to park your money in this game.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I like that a lot. I will just say,
Selling those T-shirts in the back of the room.
Scooby-Doo or the Beast. What I'll say is, when you are using your retirement funds to invest, you get to say, with some regulation, what kind of return you want. Some people may, you're comfortable with a 5 or 6% return. Some people, and Devette, this is a constant conversation for us, is, a 10% return. I'm okay with a 10% if I'm getting private money. I don't even blink. Somebody say they're gonna give me money at 10%, I'm like, let's do it. Devette, on the other hand, she's gonna be like, I'm looking for a better rate of return. I'm looking for a better rate. And I'm like,
Just to clarify, in my corporate outings with every vendor, I have at least 3 vendors bidding. So what I like to do is 10% is great, but there may be somebody out there who wants to do business with me for less. And maybe they really believe in my project or really believe in me. And they're like, let me give you a little bit. So that's all I'm saying.
I know.
So
I got
if
it.
Felicia's like, just jump, girl. I'm like, hang on. I'm going to talk to 2 more people.
I have a higher risk tolerance, but so the other thing that I want you to walk away with, and you all, I'm loving this. So jump in wherever, okay? Is that when you invest in using your self-directed accounts or your HSA, I haven't used the HSA, so I can't speak to that one. And if you have, jump in. It is a cash transaction. So imagine in this market, as tight as the market has been, and you are going to bid on a property that you want using your self-directed account, you're making a cash offer. Okay? So that, as you know, in this market gives you, or any market, gives you a lot of leverage. So it is important for you to understand that this is a cash transaction, that you are taking cash from your self-directed account and using it for the investment. The other thing that's important to note, if you are in a position to lend money using your accounts, is that you don't just go to your cousin or even an experienced investor, any of us, without having the proper documentation that is recorded with the county. So we're not saying, oh, just give so-and-so, just give Tiffany or Devette $50,000 for the project. You want to make sure that you've got the right documentation recorded that should something happen, you've got the right protections in place. And then, we bring in Attorney Chris to make sure to help us through that process if necessary, in order that you have the right promissory notes in place, the right security instruments and mortgage that you've got put in place, because what you're doing is you're putting a mortgage against the property that they're working on.
And I've used Krista. He is extremely thorough. And coming from a banker and a compliance and a business controls person, that's a compliment coming from me. That's a big compliment.
Yep.
I'm gonna jump in there. This is what we do. For our clients, it's really a multi-step process that needs to be monitored and dealt with thoroughly at every step of the process. First, if you're going to invest in something with a self-directed IRA, you need to already have that setup already established. It's not like you go out, see a property today, and say, I'm going to invest in that with my self-directed IRA. There's too much time that passes, and in the meantime, real estate does its thing. Low inventory on the market, and so you need to be timely when you're doing a real estate investment. When you're going to set up your entity within your IRA, it's either going to be, it could be a C Corp, it could be an LLC. The paperwork on that needs to be done very thoroughly. I mean, the operating agreement or the bylaws, even the entity or the person that pays for the filing fee has to be done right. You can't take $99 out of your own account and say, I'm going to pay the filing fee to set up an LLC in my self-directed IRA. You've already started off on the wrong foot, because that is self-dealing. You've already set yourself up so that you're going to be caught doing a prohibited transaction. We haven't gone into that. We probably should have that conversation during this time about not being able to deal with disqualified persons in your IRA.
Keep going.
Okay, so within your IRA, you're going to have certain people that you can't do a transaction with. The first is going to be yourself. So you can't do a real estate transaction. Piece of real estate costs $100,000. I'm going to use $50,000 from my IRA, and I'm going to use $50,000 from my personal account. That's a prohibited transaction. There are workarounds for that, but as a general matter, that's a prohibited transaction. The same with your spouse, any of your lineal ascendants, your parents, your grandparents, or any of your lineal descendants, your children and your grandchildren, and any entity that any of those people are involved with and have control over. So you can't say, I got an LLC where I handle my real estate ventures, I have an IRA, together we're going to do a venture. If you're going to do that, then you have to make certain that the capital contribution is proportionate to the expenses and the profit as they come out. That absolutely requires a CPA. Do not try to do it on your own. You need an attorney to set the deal up. You need a CPA to make sure the taxes get allocated properly. Because if you don't, the penalty is that in the year on which you engage in a prohibited transaction, your IRA is considered to be dissolved. That means that the entirety of the funds in the IRA have been distributed to you as an individual. You're subject to the tax and the penalty. If you're under 59 and a half, you've taken a distribution prior to retirement age, so you're subject to a 10% penalty. That undermines your entire scheme and could cost you literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions, depending on where you are, of tax savings. So that's not the way to do it. This is not, again, I said it earlier, this is not a do-it-yourself kind of thing. This is me, my attorney, my CPA, and the individuals or entities that I'm dealing with brought their attorneys or CPAs to the table. Don't do any self-directed IRA deals with people who are doing deals like amateurs. It's going to come back to bite you in the end.
Okay, I got 2 minutes, so I need you to have a 30-second question and we can wrap up.
I just need to know, I can retire, if you go into a self-directed, if you go from your 401k, is it all or none? Can you do like a portion, or is it all?
No, you can do a portion.
I am from out of state, but I want to know what type of attorneys as well as what type of CPA, because my CPA would not be able to answer that.
That's a very good
Yes.
question. There are many There's a vast variety of CPAs and attorneys. I don't do DUIs, I don't do criminal law, I don't do family law. I do this. I do business and estate planning and real estate. That's the kind of attorney you need. And with CPAs, you need, I'll say this, you don't have to have a CPA. You have to have an accountant who's most likely going to be a CPA who understands retirement planning and who understands real estate. If you're going to invest in real estate, if you're going to do business a little bit different, but whatever asset class you're going to invest in, you need a CPA and an attorney who understands that industry and that business.
Yep. I'm done. I'm sorry. Let's give this panel a round of applause. Thank you all so much. Again, the disclaimer, this was solely to introduce you to the concept, give you some nuggets to do your own research. I trust that we've accomplished that today, and I want you all to enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.